Nintendo Switch finally has serious competition. Out of seemingly nowhere, a brand new console launched, directly challenging Nintendo. They already outsold the Xbox, and it even came close to the Switch 1 and Switch 2 sales combined this holiday. So of course, I bought it to see if this is actually going to be the Nintendo Switch killer. All right, let's unbox it now. So this is the next Playground. It's the new console on the block. I saw it in Walmart like a few months ago and I was like, what the heck is that? And why is it in my beloved Switch 2 section? I kid you not, they placed these right beside the Nintendo Switch consoles, showing that once again, probably if you like a Nintendo Switch, you're probably gonna want this thing. So this is essentially a new Xbox Connect slash Nintendo Switch 2 camera slash PlayStation Eye toy. Pretty much this whole thing runs just on this one camera. But anyways, let's open it up. I'll get to more specifics as we go through it. I did not expect to spend this much money on it. So this was actually $240 US, 320 maple syrup dollars. And here in Canada, this thing was extremely difficult to find. I had to go to the ends of the earth to find this. They only sell them at Walmart in Canada for some reason. And let's just say this is the second one I had to buy. So we had actually already shot this unboxing video, and turns out the one I unboxed was used. Walmart literally put out a used console, and whoever opened it already had been signed in. Wait! This is not my email. Walmart literally scammed me right now. What the heck? So I had to return it and buy a brand new one for this unboxing experience. And by the way, I bought this all myself. No one sent me this. Nothing. Bust a move. Okay, I like the box. It's pretty nice. We can see the little eyes out, the little camera. Yeah. Okay, so here's the actual console itself. It's got yellow and green on it, a little bit of white. I love opening things. There's a little camera right there. I like how this looks. And I'm not gonna lie, if someone told me that this was an Xbox product, I would believe them. I mean, it's a box. It has that similar ventilation as the Xbox Series S has. It looks like an Xbox. If someone told me this was a baby Xbox, I'd probably believe them. But it's not. This is a completely different company, not related to PlayStation, Nintendo, or Xbox at all, which is why this is just so fascinating, especially knowing how well it sold. Yeah, like I said, it came out of nowhere. Anyways, with the console, we also get a power cord. That's a huge dub, if I say so myself. Ooh, we get some stickers. Yeah! Yeah! And a quick start guide. That's what I'm talking about. An HDMI cable. We love HDMI cables. We got a power cord. Oh, that's a high quality cord right there. And it even has a privacy shutter so that if you don't want them to look at you in the middle of the night, you can cover it. Last but not least, the remote. So the remote here is how you control the device itself. So unlike the traditional video game console, this whole thing is just played using this little remote here. I'll put the batteries in and that remote is going hard. All right, now that we've opened this thing, I say it's about time we set it up, go through the startup process, and see what we got going on. All right, here we go. HDMI, plugging that in. Power cord, here we go. It's in. Privacy shutter, I guess. Oh, look at that. You can store the privacy shutter right on the back with magnets. I love magnets. My setup's a little crazy, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. It is plugged in. We will use this to turn it on officially. I didn't have the recorder plugged in. All right, let's do this again. We're in. And there's music. All right, let's get started. English or French? English. Tuning up your playground. And now we wait for it to update. Here we go. Using an unsupported power cord can cause issues, just like the Nintendo Switch. Some things never change. Before continuing, here's some stuff our lawyers want us to tell you. They're so quirky. If it was Nintendo, it would be, you're sued. We don't share your stuff without your permission. Videos don't get stored on next servers or in the cloud. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna read this. I agree though. Let's put the playground in the right spot. It's just right there, beside my stupid amount of Switch 1 docks. I don't have a problem, you do. Avoid non-players in the camera view. Ah! Let's get you standing. Oh my goodness. All right, we are in the starter pack. Okay, so pretty much because I have the starter pack, I can play 5 separate games. As we can see on the box, this includes 5 free games, which is good. But we can also see on the top here of the box, there are a ton of licensed kids games. So it'll be interesting to see actually what we get with our starter pack here. So it looks like we have Fruit Ninja, a classic, Whack-A-Mole, Goalkeeper, which is soccer, I guess, Party Foul, and Starry. So I think we should just start off with Fruit Ninja. We all love Fruit Ninja. Slice fruit, avoid bombs, have fun. I guess this is mainly for if you want to work out your upper body. Oh, okay. I will be the best Fruit Ninja. That was accurate, actually. I'm so locked in right now. Uh-oh. Okay, so I think the big problem with this one specifically, it's hard to be accurate. Like, see that? Oh my goodness. Let's test out one of these other games, like Goalkeeper. Here I am. Let's do what my shirt says and use my arms. Oh, yeah. 2 hands. Oh, look, it has myself in the bottom. I used to play soccer when I was a kid. I dreaded being the goalie, but maybe I was meant to be goalie this entire time. Yay! Oh! Oh! It seems that this game is running in 30 frames per second. Not exactly peak performance for like a motion capture game like this, but I mean, I guess it works. Looks decent. Actually, what am I saying? This looks awful. The motion blur on the balls look cool, but like the grass, there's 0 grass. Textures are pretty weak. Whew. I think what I'm learning here is that I'm horrifically out of shape. Let's take a selfie. So, yes, there are a bunch of games on this, like Kung Fu Panda. What? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? How is that even going to play? And of course, Bluey. We love Bluey. And like, these games seem pretty fun. However, here comes one of the main issues with this console. Let's talk about it. All right, so I'm in this new game now. It's called Starry, and you dance pretty much. It's like a rhythm game. I actually love rhythm games. But even in the starter pack, it's not fully unlocked. You see, we get introduced to the Play Pass. One of the biggest red flags of this console so far. So you actually need to buy a subscription to play any of these games. So if I want to play Bowling Strike here, I need to click get it with Play Pass. There's no option for me to even buy this game or purchase this game or whatever. I can't get any credit. There's no V-Bucks situation going on. You have to buy the Play Pass. So that's what we're gonna do right now. We're gonna see what it unlocks completely. Here you can see we have 2 options to get a Play Pass. There's the $120 a month Canadian, so about $100 US, or $70 for 3 months. That's crazy! $70 for 3 months. Now that's $50 US, but still $50? For the sake of this video, I'm going to subscribe for 3 months, which is $70 Canadian or $50 US. That's a lot of money. If you don't cancel this, that's $200 a year US. So yeah, that is, ooh. Congrats, you've unlocked a Play Pass. This better be fun. I gotta just say, that was really easy to sign up for. I just signed up for it and it works now. We can see the Play Pass auto renews on April 6th, 2026. But the bright side is we can play any game we want now. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm gonna play as many games as possible. I'm gonna have as much fun as possible that I possibly can. And the next clip you'll see is me talking about this and how fun or not fun it is and how I feel after playing. It's me, Future Russ. I have currently played the next playground for several days, and I have some very strong opinions that cannot be ignored. So I played almost every game you possibly can, and I have to say there's a bigger selection of games than I initially expected. And after playing it for a while, it's pretty apparent that, well, this is for kids. Who could have seen this coming? And after researching this console for a little longer, it's clear that this isn't just marketed for kids. It also is aimed for adults, primarily people who want to get fit and work out, or the older senior audience. But what I'm here to determine is whether this thing is actually worth it. And more importantly, is it worth it over some of the other console options we have out there? First, I think it's important that we talk about my actual experience with the games themselves. Which ones are my favorite? What kind of games do we even got on this thing? And what I've determined that there is quite a lot of games and yet so little of them. This console has been out for over a year now, and they've added over 50 games to the subscription service. You've got sports games, fitness games, puzzle games, action adventure games, rhythm games, and more. But what I found is that the quality is just so mixed across the board. On one hand, you've got some genuinely well thought out, unique, high quality games. One of my favorites was this juggling game, where you juggle balls in the air using your body and arms to complete challenges. Not only was the concept unique, but the quality was there. It was smooth, the UI and menus were polished, the graphics were fun and quirky in a way that actually fit the vibe. It felt like a complete, thoughtful package. There was also this really fun rhythm game that tracked your body surprisingly well and accurately. It felt seamless, and once again, very high quality. The effects were nice, and even the music was genuinely enjoyable to play along to. There are some very fun games here. And not only that, but these games are actual games. There's quite a few of them where you can level up, you can actually go through a story if you wanted to, and some action adventure games. There's quite a lot of depth in some of these, and I can see a lot of them being played for long term, via upgrades, personal high scores, and just stuff like that. So there's a decent selection of quality games here. But on the other hand, there is a ton of very low quality games as well. The first whiff of this low quality madness was this kart racing game. The gameplay was atrocious. You're supposed to pretend you're driving a car with a steering wheel, and the game tracks your hands to feel ultra realistic or something like that. Except it didn't work, like, at all. Both Brandon and I were absolutely flabbergasted. And it wasn't just the garbage gameplay. For some reason, even navigating menus required holding your hands in a steering wheel position. Either we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, and it was just a massive skill issue, which could be possible, or this game has the dumbest menu navigation system ever created. I'll let you decide which one is probably true. But I think the most appalling games were the licensed kids games. What a shocker. The most despicable example is the How to Train Your Dragon game. This is horrendous. Oh my goodness. No chance. This is just like literal garbage. Like, this is just trash. What is this? You're supposed to be flying with your wings and shooting fire, and none of it worked properly for me. And somehow, the worst part isn't even the controls, it's the graphics. I'm gonna vomit. Like, it's actually impressive how bad this is. Who approved this? This is supposed to be an action-adventure epic dragon game, and this is what we get. Or there's the official NHL hockey game, which is literally just shooting pucks at a net, and it looks so boring. And honestly, it is boring. Look at this dude! My guy is in pain! So, needless to say, there's a bunch of really poopy games on here. I think the most enjoyment I got out of playing this game was when I played it with someone else. Like Brandon, look at this guy. I even got Rach involved. That's my wife. We played Bluey in Connect 4. It got out of hand pretty quickly, if you know what I mean. I think it's clear that this next system is for families and family time. Most of my time with it was solo because I don't have a life, so keep that in mind. A lot of these games are for kids, and I genuinely think that if I was a kid, or if I got this for Christmas or something, I'd probably have a good time with it and find a lot more of these games enjoyable. But as an adult, and knowing what other gaming options are out there, I'm able to point out a lot more of the issues with these games. Like, one big one is the sheer number of games that require you to constantly use the remote. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but the whole gimmick here is using your body. It feels really inconvenient to have to constantly put down the remote, pick it up, put it down again, over and over. It's just annoying. I remember with the Xbox Kinect back in the day, you could navigate menus using your hand, and I honestly think that should be here. Also, on a side note, I have no idea why or how, but my TV remote randomly came to life and started working with the Nex. I have no clue how this happened. Another huge issue for me is that many of these games just don't work very well. I already talked about that awful car game, but there are plenty of others that just aren't worth playing because of how inconsistent the controls are. For example, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. You play as a turtle. I picked Raphael because, hey, I'm Raphael. In this game, you run forwards, fight enemies, and avoid obstacles, which sounds great. However, it barely registers anything properly. This is supposed to be a fast-paced game that keeps getting faster, but the sliding, fighting, and jumping just wouldn't register quickly enough for me to actually play it properly. And who knows, maybe I wasn't jumping right, or maybe I wasn't pretending to fight passionately enough, but it just failed to work. Another game that just straight up doesn't work for me was the basketball game. All you do is grab balls and fling them in, and wherever you move your body, that's where the ball should go. Sounds simple enough, except the game had no idea when I was actually grabbing a ball or throwing it. It just ended up randomly spewing basketballs everywhere. I had so little control that it became frustrating and honestly pointless to even try. And this is essentially the core issue with motion capture controls in general. There's only so far you can stretch motion tracking as a control scheme. Now again, this is only a handful of games that don't work very well. Like I said before, there are games here that work surprisingly great. Now let's look at the actual system itself and dissect it a little. What has this thing got going on inside of it? As you know, this thing is tiny. It's a small box. Here it is compared to the Xbox Series S and the Switch 2, and is clearly the little bro. And based on the colors alone, this is a kid's toy. What can I say? That said, it is sleek and subtle enough to sit in your living room without being obnoxious. Maybe the colors are a bit much, but again, it's for kids, so who cares? Who cares what it looks like? But the more I played these games, the more it makes sense that this has a tiny body. I think a big reason a lot of these games look low quality is simply the lack of power. Because this device is so small, it's less powerful. It's just how it works. And I'm not saying this thing needs 4K graphics or insane visuals, but the resolution, textures, and effects can be really lacking in a lot of games. Please don't make me look at How to Train Your Dragon again. You can also feel the lack of power through occasional frame drops and the lower frame rate. Some do run at 60 frames per second, but overall, you can tell there's a limit to what's actually possible here. I think something that would have made this feel a little bit more like an actual game console would be the ability to play more traditional games using the remote or a controller, especially games that are designed to run on weaker hardware. Like, yes, it's weak, but it's not weak enough to not play a game. You could definitely play other games on here, like the Apple TV, for example. It's a tiny device, but you can play games like Crossy Road on it. On the Next, because you have to use your body, it limits what kind of games actually can be on here. At the end of the day though, that's just the point of the system. They want you to just be using motion controls, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. This could be more than just a motion control console if they really wanted it to be. And this whole motion control, kids feeling part of that game is actually what makes it unique and stand out. And why I'm honestly shocked at how well this thing is done compared to the big three. So let's actually compare this to owning literally any device. So Switch 2, an Xbox, a PlayStation. What's the difference here? First of all, it's kind of insane that a device like this is so popular right now, especially when we've seen this whole camera gaming trend appear and die multiple times over. The first example that comes to mind is the PlayStation iToy. Does anyone remember that? I don't. I don't think I was even born yet. At the time, this was super unique, but from what I hear, it was a little finicky, but the idea was there. Camera gaming really blew up when Xbox released the Xbox Kinect. That's when it actually became mainstream. There were so many developers making Kinect games, and some of them were great. But at the end of the day, the Kinect was just an Xbox 360 with a camera. It was an accessory, not a whole system. If you didn't want to use it, you could just play the 360 like a normal console. Eventually, the camera gaming trend died off around the PS4/Xbox One era. I think the novelty wore off and developers kind of ran out of ideas for what they could do with the Kinect. There's only so much you can do with a camera. Trust me, I would know. What's surprising to me is how this idea is clearly resurfacing now. Obviously with the Next Playground like we've seen, but also, interestingly enough, with the Nintendo Switch 2. I think it's fair to say that the Switch 2 camera's main priority is game chat, but we've seen Nintendo dabble in camera stuff again in games like with Mario Party Jamboree, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, and Welcome Tour. It's very old school, it's not amazing, but they are doing it. Maybe it's to directly compete with the Next, who knows? That said, it's hard to directly compare the Next to the big three consoles because it's not trying to run Elden Ring or anything like that, but I do find it fascinating and honestly kind of confusing how this brand managed to repackage an old, mostly dead gaming trend and somehow sell it so well that it outperformed Xbox this year. Like, that's just insane to me. Xbox must be doing really bad. I don't think this is going to replace consoles anytime soon, but I do think Nintendo should be at least a little bit worried about the Next. And here's my thinking. Over the past year, and especially during the first year of the Switch 2, video game sales have gone down industry-wide, including Nintendo. But for Nintendo specifically, I think this system should be a little bit of an eye-opener. The Next Playground is actively targeting the exact type of audience Nintendo usually dominates. Nintendo has always been the family-friendly console company with family-friendly games, accessible experiences playable by pretty much anyone. But arguably, most importantly, Nintendo has always been the cheapest option, which is a huge reason why families buy their system. And here's where the next gets really interesting. It is now one of the cheapest consoles on the shelves if you don't include the Switch Lite. And it's literally in the video game sections, right beside the Nintendo Switches, which kind of proves my point. On paper, this now seems like the cheapest gaming option aside from the Nintendo Switch Lite. But I think a lot of people can see the Nintendo Switch Lite and not see it as a family console because it is only a handheld console. Regardless, for a family console, this is the cheapest option. And because of the Nexus price, I think this is why a lot of people are going for it. The gaming industry is crazy. The Switch 2 is so expensive, $450 without a game. Like, that is expensive, which is why I think Nex is doing so well, especially this year when every other console is just super expensive. And video games in general, we're cooked. And because it's the cheapest and because it's for kids, this sounds perfect for families. However, I don't think it is. And here's why. The price. I know I just talked about the price, but it's actually more expensive than you might initially think. Yes, technically this is the cheapest console on the market, but when you factor in that subscription service that I talked about earlier, the price jumps fast. So realistically, if you buy this Next Playground and subscribe for just 1 year, you are now at $340, which is quite a bit. And that's actually exactly the price of the Switch 1. So pretty much you're choosing between a Next Playground with a year of access to 50 plus games or a Nintendo Switch 1 with no games. But also there's like bundles for Switch 1, so you can usually get for $350 Mario Wonder or Nintendo Switch Sports. At first glance, the Next might seem like the obvious choice because of how many games you get, but like I mentioned, a lot of these games are just pretty mediocre. And I think people seriously underestimate how cheap Switch games can be, especially with sales and how much value you can get by just buying a few good games outright. With a Switch, you can buy a game once and that's it. You only have access to games as long as your subscription is active. Sure, there are 5 free games you can stick with, but even those have drawbacks. I already mentioned how one of the pack-in games locks content behind the Play Pass. Like, come on, it's not even a full game then. It's a demo. Once you finish the free games, this thing is basically a brick and you're forced into a subscription if you want to keep playing. When you break it down per game or even per month, it's honestly not that bad if you buy the year-long subscription, but it's that long-term subscription that really bothers me. There are successful gaming subscriptions out there like Xbox Game Pass, and I genuinely think that Game Pass is great, but it is expensive. And what I like about it is that it's optional. With the Next Playground, you can't buy a game, you have to subscribe. I can absolutely see why this console exists, and I get the selling point, and I do think it is for some people. Clearly aimed at parents who don't want their kids sitting in front of a TV all day playing games. It's a way to keep kids active, and honestly, even adults. I was a sweaty guy a couple of times. And it is fun. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have some fun. There, I said it. And I think one of the biggest draws for me and most adults is the fitness games. And because every game involves movement, you're going to be moving, which means exercise. Kids need to exercise, adults need to exercise, and to be fair, fitness games were easily the most fun experiences on the system. And that's really the only reason I'd consider this as a non-child. The thing is though, there are just so many better options for fitness games, and just in general. But also at the same time, if you want a fitness game and you're an adult, get a VR headset. It's so much better. The technology is better, it's way more responsive, it is probably more powerful than this thing, and you can get a Meta Quest 3 for the same price as the Next Playground with a 3-month subscription. That's a significantly better option if your goal is fitness and staying active. Maybe not for kids, but for adults like me. So if you've watched me talk about this Next Playground and you actually find it interesting and you're an adult and you think that it's cool because for fitness, get a VR headset, I would say. The Next Playground feels like it's banking on accessibility for kids and making itself look cheaper with a lower upfront price, when in reality, it becomes more expensive the longer you own it. So, who is this actually for? This is for kids. And it only took me a concerning amount of time of playing these games to determine that. This is for families who don't really care about the long-term cost and just want something fun for their kids for a few years until they probably eventually will grow out of it. Would I recommend it? No, probably not. It's too expensive and that subscription genuinely annoys me. But is it better than the Switch? No. Listen, I just want to talk about this because so many people have been giving it some attention because of the sales that beat the Xbox. This has been out for a while. I think it's a very unique product, and this company is very smart at marketing. I will give them that. I hope you enjoyed it. Have you tried the Next Playground? Let me know what you think about it. Or is this something that you're actually interested in buying? Let me know. And hey, consider becoming a channel member to support the channel and get videos early. We love them. Also, like and subscribe as well. And click one of these videos because YouTube thinks you're gonna wanna watch it, and I trust YouTube, so you better do that. All right, I'll see you in the next one. See you later.